Well, it looks like we are live at Inside Gateway. I am a last-minute fill-in, so I apologize if I get these questions out of order. Of course, James is the one I should be apologizing to because he went from John Ringer as the interviewer to myself. So we have with us today James Drayer. James is a former house parent kid, now a young adult. Also been doing some volunteering this summer at Gateway Woods. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of those experiences. So I'd like to start off and maybe take me back. When did your family first come out to Gateway? Do you have any recollections of those early times?
Sure. So we came out in fall of 2003, and then we were here till 2013, and then we were here. We left for a year, and then came back in 2014. So a total of about 11 years or so.
Okay.
But my very earliest memory, so I remember leaving. We lived on Neighbor Drive in Fort Wayne, and I was a little nervous coming to Gateway. It's just a new place. I'm be more of an anxious person. But anyway, so I came out. We were pulling up. It was right in front of the barn, and I was just sort of nervous in the back, kind of freaking out. I don't know anybody. Don't know what it's gonna be like. And Avery Plattner and Tyler Plattner were riding their bikes, and Avery was on this little tricycle that I think they still have today in the garage. But I remember opening the door and sitting there, and then my parents were just like, "Oh, just go have fun. Go talk to Avery and Tyler," and we became great friends. I mean, we did everything together. Got in a lot of mischief.
Oh, James,
no.
you got the mischief.
Oh, I was a perfect little angel. No, I would've. But anyway, but that was my earliest memory at Gateway.
So you essentially from 4 till your early teenage years were at Gateway. So that's a pretty significant portion of time of your childhood that was framed within the context of Gateway.
Yep, I mean, lower elementary, upper elementary, middle school, high school, all at Gateway.
So I'm curious, why don't we start with some easy questions? What's one of your favorite memories that you have? And if you don't have one, maybe one or two favorite memories you have from being at Gateway.
I have a lot of great memories at Gateway. A lot of fun memories. I just don't know where to start. So I was thinking before we started, one of my memories that I enjoyed the most gratifying memory that I had was there was a resident, I believe her name was Markiana. But anyway, she was just like an older sister. So I'm the oldest in my family. Never had any older siblings. Don't even have any older cousins.
Yeah.
So I mean, we went everywhere together. I mean, I remember playing pool downstairs and just being able to talk about life. I think I was about 9 or 10 at that point.
Okay.
It was just fun. We recently, here in the past year, we got a letter from her.
Yeah.
Just talking about the memories that she had, and just talking about how I was a little bit like a younger brother to her. Mm-hmm. So it's just a very fun memory.
Yeah, I look at my own kids that shared. We actually, for those of you who don't know, we were not out for 11 years as house parents. We were only out for 4.5, but we did overlap with the Drayer clan. So I know my daughter Kelsey and Josiah and even Abby was more of a tag who didn't do as much with you guys, but I do know that we saw James Drayer in our house a time or two. But it is neat to see sometimes your own kids, how they can interact and engage in the different relationships that get built there. I know that Kelsey's definitely had gotten close to some of the kids that were in our house, and so it's neat to see that as well. So why don't you tell me about a funny memory? So that's a memory you're kind of fond of, that's kind of cool. You had a big sister type relationship. So how about a funny memory, James?
Okay, well, what do you want? Do you want?
Well, this is well. If you use residents, please don't use their names. You can just because we don't want to throw them under the bus without their permission. So it could be a resident. It could be something that happened to you, house parent kids. It can be
You got me really curious about the mannequin.
Well, no, that's more funny on my part. Maybe we'll come back to that one.
Let's see. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think. Funny memory. Can we come back to that one?
Yeah, we can absolutely come back to that one. I'm curious, James, so we'll save some of the funny memories. I will share a funny memory of James. I'm sorry, James.
You're fine.
He asked ahead of time, was the mannequin going to come up, and I didn't know or not, but when we were on at Maple House, we had our dear assistant, Lisa. She had a mannequin head that she used for some of her for doing hair and things like that and practicing when she was at school. Not entirely sure there, but it was kind of a creepy looking mannequin head.
Oh my goodness. It was this raggedy thing. It was like missing chunks of hair.
Yeah, and there might have been a time or two that we used that head to freak James out when he was, I don't know, you might have been 10, 11 years old. But I'm surprised you didn't wet yourself that one time. I came behind James with the mannequin head, and I had wrapped a blanket around it, and he was in the office talking with Lisa and my daughter Kelsey, and I came right behind him. I think I tapped you on the shoulder and I went, ah, or something like that. And James ran out of the office as quickly as could be, and he was screaming at the top of his lungs. And I don't think he came back to visit Maple for a little while. You always would have Kelsey go to Oak House. I think that's kind of how it worked. So there might be some PTSD that needs to be dealt with here, James. Hopefully this is therapy that's going on. So you weren't the only one. We had residents that got freaked out by the head too, and we intentionally we fed into that. So anyways, we'll go back to hopefully you have some funny memories that don't include mannequin heads in the future. What is the thing that you liked least about being a house parent kid?
Sure. So our family is actually, my sister and I have actually been talking a little bit about this here in the past few months. And I think the hardest part was sharing your parents through all of your childhood. Because I through lower elementary and middle school and high school, it's just hard because you would see your parents, I would see my parents and just sort of interact with them. But I didn't necessarily be able to talk to them as much as because there was always that chance of resident could be acting up and they have to go deal with that, or we have to cancel a trip because resident was acting up or something like that. So now that my dad has a full-time job, I've said it before, and I'm like, I actually see you more now that you have a full-time job. So I think that was the hardest part and the part that I like the least.
Like the least.
So
I'm curious. This isn't on this sheet here, but with that amount of time, I'm curious what type of impact, if any, did Gateway have on how you view just people in general and society and just interact? And did your exposure through your time here change your outlook or your perspective? Or how has it framed your perspective now as a young adult?
Sure. It's made it a lot more personal issues, and so I want to go into education at Fort Wayne, and just going into education, you see a lot of students that are just having a hard time, and it makes me think more. Okay, what's the deeper level of this? What's really wrong? Because time and time again, we'd see residents that would act up and have problems because of home life, because of parents, because of abuse, whatever it might be. And it helps me and frame that thought of, let's look deeper into the issue. What's really going on? What's their home life like? Are they abused? Are they, is there something wrong? How can I help them? How can I reach them? And I think just, instead of looking at the symptoms of a problem, it's really helped me to dive deep into the problem.
That's really cool. That's really, I look at that, and that's neat to hear you say that, because being a house parent kid, I think there's pros and cons, and hopefully you'll talk to some of the pros later on that my kids really enjoyed, but they are sharing that time with your parents, essentially with 7 or 4 or however many teenagers are in the house at the time. For you guys, it's usually 4 plus their kids, sometimes 4 plus 4 little ones.
Yeah.
It would probably be the max that you'd have in the teen mom house where you guys were at. But seeing how God used that to kind of shape your perspective and help you look deeper, I think that there's a lot of maturity in that. So that, to me, that's encouraging to hear, and thanks for being willing to share that. So I'm curious with, now you've been back this summer, you've done quite a bit of volunteering this summer. Why don't you just share a little bit about your experience coming back as a volunteer? Because you've been here as a house parent kid all these years, and you finally leave, you get your parents back, so to speak, and you're coming back, just share a little bit about kind of what the experience has been like being a volunteer this summer.
So it's really weird coming back to volunteer because, I mean, I know Gateway like the backside of my hand. I mean, I know it better than my own house.
Yeah.
So it's just fun coming to Gateway and just sort of knowing how everything works, knowing how house parenting works, knowing what residents are like. And then also it's, I was eating at Cypress the other day, and just being able to interact with the residents and being able to talk to the residents from a outside-in perspective from their part.
Yeah.
But it's perspective of, I know everything that goes on in this house. I know everything that goes on at Gateway, sort of thing. And just being able to sort of talk about that, talk about past experiences, and just have a conversation with them. I enjoy having fun, real conversations like that.
Yeah. And coming from your background, what I'm gathering from you is just easier for you to identify. So like if you would have not had the experience that you had, obviously, but 11 years here, coming as a volunteer and eating in the house might have been more intimidating, or maybe it just would have been more difficult to find context and how do you relate and have a conversation, if you don't know what they're going through on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. And it's more normal to have a conversation. Like, I didn't necessarily know what to say or how to say it. I mean, my entire life was eating with residents and just interacting with them. So it was a pretty easy,
pretty natural
conversation.
Cool. That's awesome. So do you have any fond memories of you mentioned eating at Cypress House, you enjoyed that, from volunteering this summer? Has there been any funny things, any Cooper, Kyler stories you want to throw on them? I guess I'm not totally asking you to out your friends, but I'm just curious if there's been any fond memories or any funny memories that you've had so far with your volunteer experience.
Well, not necessarily volunteering, but just sort of interacting with some of the stuff. Okay, so this morning, I walk in, we were eating breakfast, and Connor Pfister walks in. And I'm like, "Hi, Connor, how are you? Greetings." And Connor was like, "James, I never know what to expect from you. I'm just never quite prepared to interact with you." And I'm like, "Thanks, Connor."
That's a compliment, I think.
Don't know how to take it.
Not sure.
So it's fun to...
So breakfast, so I'm curious, who usually is making breakfast? Is that Cooper making breakfast for you? Or do you have to fend for yourself when you come in? Because I've heard that he just puts cereal out for the volunteers. Or does he do a little bit more?
So he made pancakes this morning.
Okay, that's good.
Your daughter actually made casserole.
Okay, so
people bring stuff in, and
I think they've made waffles several times.
Okay, so for those, I know we're getting it into the heart of summer, but there's still obviously a lot of volunteering opportunities for people to come out.
Oh yeah.
So I'm curious to that younger generation, or your generation younger than me, that have summers free, or maybe have a weekend free or a few days that might be interested in coming out. We've heard that there's there's breakfasts that aren't just cereal, they're actually making stuff, so that's good. But I'm curious, what would you say to those people that maybe are your peers or someone that's in college age or young, professionally young, single that has some time off, the value of volunteering?
So just come do it. Please come do it. It's a lot of fun. It's a really great experience. Just being able to interact with people, whether you're from the AC Church or not, whether you're a member or not. It's just a really cool experience to sort of bond with your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. And just, there's something about working alongside people. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just learn a deeper level about them and their work habits. You just hear a lot of fun stories from their childhood and current life situations. It's also just a really cool experience to learn about Gateway. I mean, you can read about Gateway, you can learn all these different things, you can talk to people, but you don't really truly learn about it until you experience it. Mm. And with volunteering at Gateway, you eat at the houses, you have lunch at one of the houses each day, and that's just really cool to be able to interact with the residents, to talk with the residents, talk to the house parents. I know my dad used to, oh goodness, he would, probably why they didn't come to Oak House, But it was just fun seeing him interact with the residents, or with the volunteers. But he told this turtle joke it took like 10 minutes to tell this dumb turtle joke. But it was one of those jokes that
Rite
you
of
like
passage for volunteers or something.
Exactly. Come to open house. It was like this
to endure the turtle joke.
Exactly.
I would ask you to retell it, but you said it was 10 minutes long, and that's just a little bit longer than we probably have.
It was just a very dumb punchline, but it was a lot. It was very fun, like once. But it was a lot of just hearing it, bonding with the house with the house parents and their volunteers. So it's a really cool experience. It's a lot of fun just to hear personal experiences from the house parents and to hear from each of the staff.
Do you have any specific memories as a house parent kid about volunteers coming?
I always loved it. I always loved. It's not necessarily like a specific memory of volunteers. It was just more so getting to know the volunteers and be able to hear this. And the house became a lot more alive whenever you have that other person.
Do you remember some of the volunteer coordinators that came through during your 11 years?
I don't know the volunteer coordinators, but I remember building great relationships with the volunteers. Just so volunteers on Thursdays, they have kids camp. And that was just something that I really treasured as a house parent kid. Just having that extra influence, that adult in my life to be able to interact with. I've built a lot of great relationships. Actually, I remember Charlotte. I remember interacting with Charlotte and being able to talk to her. And
this was before she was on staff.
This was back when she was a volunteer.
Wow, James goes way back, before my time even. At least on campus.
I don't know. I don't remember their names, but we gave nicknames to each of the residents. So if you're watching, you might remember me. I remember Freckled Parrot. Charlotte was Bluefish. My name was Brown Dog. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Brown Dog, Bluefish, Freckled Parrot. There you go. So you had nicknames for the volunteers as they came through.
As a kid.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I didn't realize. Brown Dog, that's your nickname?
Yes, that's...
Okay, so I haven't heard that recently, so I'll have to remember that.
For a good reason, Jack.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
No, I will say as a house parent myself, there was a lot of positive energy that came when we had volunteers, and I know we always really enjoyed that interaction, and we saw the residents a lot of times really, there's something about it that was there's a very positive influence that happened there. Even if it was for a short period of time, even if it was for a week, that there were times where volunteers really had opportunity to really show some, at very least, just to demonstrate Christ's love in a very tangible, real way, just by getting into their world and building a relationship and interacting with them and being a positive role model. I think that's something that we always treasured and enjoyed at the time. It's a crazy time. Summer's crazy, but it's neat to have other young adults that are on fire for the Lord. They're out here wanting to serve and get their hands dirty, so to speak, and willing to make an impact. So thanks for what you're doing this summer. I really appreciate it, James. I've come to appreciate you more and more. And really, if you're looking at from the house parent perspective, your kids can still turn out good, even with 11 years on campus. So there's some misnomers sometimes where we have house parents or potential house parents that have a fear of, hey, how is this going to impact my family? How is it going to impact my kids? And the reality is it will impact your kids. But I've seen in my own kids' lives and many that over the long run there's a very positive value and it's an opportunity for them to be part of the ministry.
I think as a volunteer, I became a Christian here on the Gateway campus. I became a Christian because of my experiences here at Gateway and because of the relationships I built. And I'm who I am today because of my experiences at Gateway. I have a heart for missions because of living in the mission field.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents were missionaries for 11 years, and you get that experience. And it's a hard experience, but I mean, oftentimes the things that God calls us to do are never easy. And I think it can be a great experience for the family unit as a whole.
Yeah. Any questions from our outside sources?
No, but I have another one.
Okay.
11 years of being on staff as a house parent kid. Can you share some auction memories or experiences that really stand out to you?
I love the auction. Every year, I wait with greater and greater anticipation. as a house parent kid, I remember loved working with the house parent, the volunteers. But every year, so they would have, the what's it called, where the auctioneer stands, stage.
Yeah, the stage. Yeah.
So it's made with like L-shaped pieces, and I remember crawling onto the stage. I remember one year the volunteers designed a maze for each of the house parent kids.
Oh wow!
Oh my goodness,
That was.
that was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience just being able to crawl into the stage. I spent hours under those stages.
And your parents were like, "Where's James?
Exactly.
Where's he at?"
Tyler, Avery, Cooper, Connor. I think your daughter got into there too.
Yeah, probably.
Probably Josiah, Dayla.
Yeah.
All those people.
Yeah. No.
So,
Crawling under the stage. I've heard stories about that. I never did it myself. I was a little too big.
But yeah, I just remember, the atmosphere changes at Gateway. I remember always looking forward to that fun, exciting. You can just feel the excitement in the air when you're here on campus. So if you can volunteer during auction week, I'd really recommend it. It's a lot of fun. There's so much hustle and bustle and people going to and fro and building things, putting stuff together, and organizing the tents. It's really, really cool.
Tents going up. It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Even though volunteers don't do that. We hire people to do that, but that's pretty cool to see them go up. So, yeah.
Funny story.
Okay, James has got his funny story. I was going to come back to that one. This is a good way to end.
So I actually have two funny stories. So I have one about a resident. So this resident was a lot of fun.
Okay.
She was a bit out there. But she was just a very fun, expressive resident. Anyway, so we, for a trip, we went to Kings Island.
Okay.
I don't remember which roller coaster it was, but we were just sort of like, we're going to go on this roller coaster. Do you think you can handle it? She's like, oh, I got this. I can do this. And so we all get onto the roller coaster, and she's starting to get a little bit nervous. And we go up the first hill, and Ann Jacobs, she was our assistant, and now Ann Smith. So she was sitting there and sitting next to
Shout out to Ann
Jacobs. So I really enjoyed playing Settlers with you. A lot of good memories with that. But anyway, so she was sitting there with the resident, and we crossed the first hill, and this resident's getting kind of nervous. So we crossed the second hill, and she's like really nervous. We crossed that third hill, and she's just fainted. She's out. She's out. Her head's just going around, and just like sitting there and just like holding this resident. We look back, and she's. It was a hilarious experience. It was a wonderful
Was that
experience.
one of the coasters where they take a picture of you? Like it's.
I don't know. It was an older coaster. It was a wooden coaster. My second experience. So being an assistant, it's a really great experience for the house parent kids. I loved just interacting with all the assistants that we had. I was like a nanny to us. So this is whenever Nicole Wiegand, now Drayer, was an assistant. Anyway. So her brother, Brandon Wiegand, I think he was volunteer coordinator that summer. I think this is whenever he was out.
Okay.
So volunteer coordinator.
I know the time frame we're looking.
Anyway, so Nicole is a little bit of a she can be a little bit of a troublemaker at times, mischievous. She has a mischievous side of her.
I'm learning a new side.
But anyway,
Nicole's getting a shout out.
Sweet Nicole.
She was very, very sweet, but sometimes mischievous. So she thought it'd be great to bake a cricket into Brandon's muffin. So all the residents get on this. So we're having Brandon Wiegand over for lunch. And then she makes this cricket. She makes this cricket muffin. Anyway, and then we're sitting there, the residents are just waiting in great anticipation, looking at Brandon, waiting for him to eat this muffin. So he takes a bite into this muffin. And you can just see the cricket. Like, he doesn't get the cricket, but you can see the cricket hanging out of the muffin. And so he's just standing in there just talking and swinging this muffin around, just interacting with the residents and the family. And then we're just all like, just eat the muffin already! Anyway, so then he finally takes a bite into this muffin and just freaks out. Oh my goodness. The face in Nicole's face. Oh, it was hilarious.
Did he taste it or was it the texture?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been just the crunch of getting into this cricket and just, oh. It was
Brandon, you may want to defend yourself here, or Nicole, not sure, but
oh,
good old Brandon, and yeah, that's just a sibling thing.
So
That's how they showed love, I believe. So.
It was a great experience for the whole family. I mean, the residents were in on it too. So
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah, and, yeah, practical jokes. There's a few of those. We've had some practical jokers throughout the years. So
Yes, we have.
tell you what, those are some great ways to end. Are there any other questions we have? Before
Patricia Lynn has commented. She says, "James, we miss you."
I'm really, really bad with names, so I might need to see a picture.
Oh, I can't show you a picture. But she knows you, I guess.
Okay. Hi, Patricia. I'm really, really, really sorry. I'm terrible with names, so come to the auction.
It could be a cat. You know, sometimes people, that. So, anyways. So thank you for watching, everyone that's been on. James, thanks so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
I've really enjoyed our time here, so it's been good to reminisce, and it brings back my own memories, but I don't want to steal your thunder. I've been known to do that. So please tune in next week to Inside Gateway. Hopefully you'll have your regular interviewer on board. This is John. Will hopefully be back in the saddle, but thank you for tuning in. James, thanks again. Until next week. Adios.